Hello, good evening all. Nice to see all your lovely faces back on one of these screens again. How odd it is, but welcome everybody. So we're going to start tonight's council meeting. Just to say a welcome to all councillors, officers, members of the public that may be watching, and press. If you could all keep your cameras on for me and keep yourselves muted unless you're asked to speak, that would be really helpful. And obviously, if you want to speak on any items or ask any questions, then please do raise your hand. I'll try and get through you as best as I can. But as you can understand, having 40 people on a screen is not the easiest way of doing this, so bear with me. So first of all, can I ask for declarations of interest? Can I ask councillors to declare the type of interest, the agenda item it refers to, and the reason for the interest? I believe that item 2A, in relation to the corporate executive reports, there is a reference to loan facilities. So if we do start talking about that, the declarations of interest will be needed. Has anybody got any declarations of interest they'd like to make now? Nope. Marvellous. In which case we'll go on to the executive reports, everybody. So we'll take this page by page. Oh, Councillor Benson, I can see you raising your hand. We can hear you, Telly.
Apologies. Yeah, just a personal and prejudicial interest, possibly, and I will leave the meeting if there's anything related or any debates on the wholly owned companies, particularly pertaining to Blackpool Transport.
Thank you. Okay, are we all right? We'll move on. So in which case, executive reports, we'll take them page by page as usual, folks. So I believe that Councillor Lynn Williams will be presenting the corporate portfolios. Councillor Williams?
Yes, thank you, Lady Mayor. I'm happy to present the report and take any questions. Thank you.
Brilliant, thank you. Okay, so any questions, please, on page 1? Councillor Rick Scott, I'll take first.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. Yes, on the first paragraph of the report, where you're alluding to a significant increase in activity at the airport in 2021 with over 40,000 aircraft movements, and Blackpool Airport was one of the busiest in the country. I take it from that endorsement that you're going to be opening up the airport to commercial flights and Blackpool being connected to the real world again to allow more people to visit our famous town and all our amenities.
Thank you. Sorry, just bear with me, people. No, we can't have interruptions, I'm afraid, unless it's a point of order. Is there a point of order being requested? Councillor Taylor, is that a point of order?
In a sense, yeah. Can you hear me?
No. Yeah, is it a point of order?
Yes, it is a point of order.
Okay.
Because this report is presented by the leader and myself, and I'd like to speak on that question.
You can reply.
In due course.
You can reply at the end, Councillor Taylor, if that's all right. Brilliant. Okay, so I've got Councillor Tony Williams had his hand up for page 1.
Sorry, Lady Mayor, it's page 2, actually. I'm sorry.
No problem at all. Anybody else on page 1, folks? Nope. Okay, page 2, Councillor Tony Williams.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. Again, Children's Services are forecasting the overspend of 4 million, and we increased the budget by 8 million in August. And I've said it so many times, and I know we have to look after children. I know there's a problem, but this is going to bankrupt us if we're not careful going forward. We really need to see some changes and actions on this, especially the fact that we're having to place our children out of town and have no control over the costs. Thank you, Lady Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. I've got Councillor Don Clapham.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. Mine was down at the bottom of page 2. It's the wholly owned companies. I'd just like to say that we really should note that the staff and management at the Sandcastle had actually managed to repay the loan of 1.1 million which was through the COVID support fund. And I think they really should be congratulated. It's the only company that's done it so far. But I do hope that the rest of our wholly owned companies recover from the COVID effects on their finances. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Clapham. Councillor Maxine Callow.
Yes, thank you, Lady Mayor. Mine is just a question really on page 2 regarding the conference centre. I wondered if somebody could give me some details of how the bookings are coming in, not just for when it first opens, but any perhaps for the future. I know that we are looking forward to the spring conference for the Conservatives, but how are the bookings going along? Thank you, Lady Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Callow. Councillor Paul Galley.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. I just wanted to pick up on the question there or the point about children's services. And I was really pleased to see, Lady Mayor, the point about fostering. And I think this is something as elected members that we can really play an active part in terms of supporting the fostering team by utilising our own networks. Councillor Williams and myself, for example, have planned once a month that the fostering team are going to be organising a display at one of the cafes that we've got in Anchor Zone. But we've all got different community groups, different access to libraries across the town. And part of the journey with this particular team, which is excellent, and it's our own team, is that we build the relationship and in particular trust between that team and members of the public in terms of coming forward. So for me, it's the point. I guess the question to the leader is how can we encourage that and promote that team to all the elected members to give them a chance to do what they need to do.
Thank you, Councillor Galley. Any other questions on page 2? Councillor Tony Williams.
Thank you, Lady Mayor.
Councillor Williams, turn your camera back on for me. Sorry. There we are.
Too fiddly. It's the paragraph about strategic leisure assets in the bottom sentence. And it said we've moved from break even from 2024 to 2025-26. And it said this is increased due to a delay in the conference centre income generation. I think it's a tie-on to Councillor Maxine Callow's question, really. How can we say it's due to a delay in conference centre income generation when we don't know if we've got any bookings in the can anyway? Thank you.
I'm dying to answer that question, but obviously I know I can't. Okay, so is there anybody else on page 2? Nope, marvellous. Page 3? I'll go for page 4.
No, page 3, please.
Page 3, sorry.
Yes, you're all right, Mayor. Thank you. Regarding the welfare support to our residents, it does go on to page 4. And I see here that people can get the information if they go online. Is the information on how people can claim going to be available any other way? And I speak as a dinosaur, and I'm sure there are others out there that are similar to me, particularly elderly people that perhaps can't go online. So could you tell me, please, if this information is available elsewhere? And if it's not, then I would like to see it made available. Thank you, Lady Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Callow. Any other questions on page 3, first of all? Councillor Tony Williams.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. It's a wholly owned company financial performance. It's a loss of 1.13 million, although referring back to Councillor Clapham's statement on the Sandcastle, it made a profit of 2 million, I understand, last year, yet we're still showing an overall loss of 1.13 million on all the companies. So it's a question, Lady Mayor, if I can we see a breakdown of the profit and loss accounts on all our wholly owned companies, please?
Okay, have we got any other questions, please, on page 3? Nope, I'll move on then to page 4. Is that you, Councillor O'Hara, raising your hand? I can't hear you, sorry, Councillor. Is that you raising your hand? No, okay, no problem. Anybody else raising their hand on page 4? Nope, okay. In which case, page 5? Page 6? Councillor Paul Galley.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. It was just about the reduction of car parking prices in the town centre, Lady Mayor. I just wondered how, by encouraging car use into the town centre, that squares against our carbon neutral targets.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Bradley Mitchell.
The government funding through the town deal to develop the central site is welcome. And it's important for regenerating Blackpool and continuing to level up. However, last week I met with around 20 traders from Bonny Street Market, and though they appreciate the site will be developed and the upcoming closure of the market is necessary, this has been poorly communicated by Blackpool Council. These traders have operated there for years, yet a council spokesperson has confirmed to the Gazette that there was no direct communication with the traders. And they've purchased stock in advance of the upcoming season, but will be forced to vacate the site. I understand the first phase of building the new multi-storey car park is on the complete opposite end of the site. So could you commit to looking into the possibility of keeping Bonny Street Market open for one last season?
Thank you. Councillor Walsh.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. At the last Tourism, Economy and Community meeting, I raised the issue of compulsory purchase orders being served on both residential and businesses in and around the site that Multiversity was expected to be located. This was a leaked document and went live on the 29th of November 2021. Can the leader give the number of residents who will be CPO'd and businesses? Have they been contacted? And does the leader know how much in monetary terms this CPO will cost the council? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Anybody else on page 6, please? Councillor Clapham.
Thank you very much. It's down at the bottom of page 6, the final 2 lines, where it talks about further information was asked on the multi-university and Blackpool Central Courts relocation scheme. It seems strange to me that we're very, very good at applying for general grants. What was missing from these 2 bids in order that it failed first time round? And I did read the report on page 17 and 18, but I still couldn't understand why we'd missed out if we'd done a very clear submission.
Thank you, Councillor Clapham. Anybody else on page 6? Page 7? Councillor Michelle Scott.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. Could the leader please explain to us how exactly the council is identifying and then ensuring effective and meaningful engagement with all town centre stakeholders, please? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. And have we got any more there on page 7? Not seeing anyone. Okay, general questions? I think that's you, Councillor Williams. Obviously, if you need to refer to Councillor Taylor to answer any questions, then please feel free to do so.
Sorry about that. I thought you were talking about to the other Councillor Williams. Sorry, 1 second. So, right, let me go back to the start. It's more difficult here. I've not got enough space. Bear with me 1 second. So,
it's difficult when you've got sheets of paper, computer screens, iPads.
No. Thank you, Lady Mayor. So the first question in relation to which Councillor Rick Scott, and I know Councillor Taylor will come back to that, and he will deal with the questions that relate to the wholly owned companies. But just my comments at that, the airport is doing what we wanted it to do. It's we aren't going to open it up to commercial unless and until somebody comes in who's willing to underwrite what is probably now 3 million losses a year. This administration is not going to bankrupt the council. And people really didn't use the airport to visit Blackpool. They used it to leave and go on holiday elsewhere as a general rule. So, for example, Luton Council were advised by their auditors to sell the airport because of the financial risk it presented and the size and success that Luton has had over the years. So I don't agree, but I'm sure Councillor Taylor will come back to that. Councillor Williams, in relation to children's services, I think as it's set out in the report, and we've discussed and explained this at a number of meetings, is that the medium-term financial plan will come into effect from next year and will have a whole year effect. The numbers of children entering care are plateauing. We did have an increase in December, but the improvement plan for children's services has continued unabated, and we are. That journey absolutely continues. The issue, and he's right, we do not have any control over the cost of residential placement, which is what is driving the stresses in children's services budget. This government has the control of that. They've known that it's been an issue for a number of years. A children's commissioner a couple of years ago used a yearly report to refer to children being touted around the country like baggage at incredible cost. We have tried to deal with that issue in the best way that we can locally, using what powers we have through planning. But it really is down to this government, who has long known about this issue, to actually deal with it and prevent something that is not just Blackpool affected, but the whole country. Councillor Clapham. Yes, I agree. Sandcastle have done a fantastic job this year, and all the management and staff there should be commended for what has been a really successful year. I think a lot of the companies have looked, because they've had to look at different ways. So it's not just also, I think, at the Sandcastle, and also if we're talking around the tower, etc., the feedback has been not just that it's been more profitable, but that people visiting those attractions have had a better time. It's been a more positive experience because there've been less numbers, they've had more time, they've had more personal interaction with staff. So there's a lot to be learnt, something else we've learnt from working through COVID. Councillor Maxine Callow, yes, the conference centre, we've actually set up a new centre that became before the shareholders committee between Councillor Taylor and Councillor Clapham and I, that was recently discussed, and I'm sure Lady Mayor was chomping to get in there to answer those questions, but Councillor Taylor will no doubt respond to that. Councillor Galley, in relation to children's services fostering, yes, I absolutely agree that we should support in any way that we can, and I think in terms of bringing it up now is a very good way of discussing that and informing through members, but also I think it's an element of training and involvement. And I think what we've looked at and the further training that we put on with regards to our rights and responsibilities as corporate parents is incredibly important through this and through that. So, I would encourage absolutely, all council members to attend that training and to understand our full responsibilities as corporate parents. They are our children, and it is absolutely our duty to ensure that in whatever way that we can. So yes, completely support your and Tony and Councillor Williams' plan and your involvement with your different groups that you're involved with. The delay. Well, I mean, Councillor Williams' strategic leisure assets, the delay in the conference centre income generation. Yes, we did have a worldwide pandemic, but I'm sure Councillor Taylor will come on to also to deal with that. The Councillor Maxine Callow, how residents can claim. As I understand it, people can also claim over the phone. It wouldn't just be online. We appreciate the number of people, and we want to get to as many people as possible who would be entitled to claim this. But I will absolutely double check that. But as I say, my understanding is that it is also by telephone. In relation to Councillor Williams' profit and loss accounts, again, Councillor Taylor, I hope he's taking note of these questions. Councillor Galley, carbon neutral and increasing car parking. It's a very difficult balance, and I'm sure Councillor Hugo can comment upon this later on in the point, but it's, in all things, it's about striking the right balance in terms of, after the impact that COVID had had upon our town centre and businesses, and to try and increase that footfall into the town centre, which we generate, to help generate our businesses, and given that people's livelihoods depend upon that. So I understand the point he's making, and we are aware of that. But as I say, we have to strike a balance and work with that. Let me just find my notes on that. I did have some notes about the Bonny Street Market, Councillor Mitchell. As I understand it, I mean, I had discussed this with officers because I'd received a letter from a trader there, but I don't believe that there hasn't been any direct communication. That would have been ongoing for some time. So I think the market traders did understand what the situation was. They've known about this regeneration and the development in that area for some time. And I do not believe that it's going to be possible to operate for one last season. We will do, as we have done with the other market, which his name just escaped me, even though I work directly opposite Abingdon Street Market, in the same way, to support those traders, to assist where we can in relocation, etc. But I don't accept that there has been no communication, or that we haven't offered to work with those traders. I understand their feelings, and clearly it's obviously a difficult time for them. And then where were we? Councillor Walsh. I don't have that information. Don't know that level of detail, and I suspect that we will know possibly some of that information, but obviously that will still be being worked up. But I can find out what information and let you have that. Councillor Clapham, I'm sorry, I missed your question. It related, I think, to the last two lines on one of the, was it page 6, yeah. I believe.
Can I just remind you what it was? It was simple enough.
Yes, please.
Yeah, it was what was missing in the bid, so that we had to go back about the multiversity and Blackpool Central Courts relocation scheme. We put a bid in for a list of different items. But those two failed for a lack of information, and I was just surprised that our officers hadn't put in a full package, because they're very successful normally.
Yeah, as I didn't understood it, I will find out for you. But as I understood it, it was in relation. We were just waiting for those to be worked through. We've had approval for those schemes, so it's just a case of we've heard on the first three, and then we're waiting to hear from the others. So I wasn't aware that further information was needed in that regard, because we've already had approval. But I will clarify and let you know.
Thank you.
And Councillor Michelle Scott, town centre stakeholders. This is in relation to the town centre plan renewal. We are using the company who specialise in town centre support development retail. They currently manage the Hounds Hill. They are organising this, the consultation, so that there will be full consultation that will be done. And that was following on from all the other work that's sort of gone on. Find out if you want more detail in terms of the specifics of how that will be done, but we're very conscious that has to be obviously done properly to feed into that strategic review. I think that's me done, Lady Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Am I passing over to Councillor Taylor now? I think I might be.
Okay, thank you very much, Lady Mayor. Okay, firstly, on the airport, are we about to open it up to, or attempt to open it up to low-cost commercial flights, etc., as was once the case? My goodness me, I hope not. One of the things that I regularly, every day, thank whoever was responsible for it, for the fact that we are not in the same position as other authorities with locally owned airports have been going through these last few years, which has been held, and which has led to a great deal of criticism of some of them at a national level. We escaped that fate, I'm very glad to say. But even before COVID, of course, in the days when we tried very hard to get into that business and lost a lot of money, a couple of million, I think it was a year or around about that figure. So I think you'd have to be, with the greatest respect, pretty stupid to want to dive back into that particular bath, having escaped from it. However, we have a good enterprise going on at the airport. It is doing very well. The flights to the rigs, etc., continue to operate. It's not doing as well as we would like, and it's undoubtedly being affected by COVID, but it's doing quite well. And we want to see it improve, and it is improving. It's moving in the right direction. So good moves have been made over the years. I'm thankful for that. I'm also very thankful for the directors, the non-executive directors, and others on the airport who are making a great contribution to help us to move forward. And they don't get embroiled in some of this nonsense about getting these low-cost flights back again, but are seriously working to make the airport a success, which it is, and it is improving all the time. We will continue to that good work, Lady Mayor. So that's all I've got to say on that. I'd like to add my thanks as well and congratulations to the Sandcastle, to the Blackpool Operating Company for the excellent work that's been done down there over the years, and the way it's been turned from what was a financial disaster some years ago to a great asset now. So much, as has been said, we paid, or they've paid, rather, the loan back. So that's really good news, and I can't speak too highly of the way that's been done. But I think I would say for all the companies, we are very supportive, as they all know, and they're all doing a good job in very difficult circumstances. So within the business, none of them have dropped out. They've all lost ground over this last couple of years to some extent, inevitably, as all businesses have. But they're now moving forward again. Things are getting better, and the losses are reducing, but there are still losses. So if Councillor Williams wants to know more detail about that, I will gladly send him that information as much as I can, subject to any commercial restrictions that might apply. But I'll certainly write to you on that subject. With regard to the conference centre, my information is that it is doing quite well in terms of bookings. I'm a little bit surprised about that myself, because I was not tremendously optimistic at one point, but it seems to be doing well. And I think the reason for that is that when people come and have a look at it, they're very impressed that this is a modern conference centre designed and built for a modern use. And a lot of the conference centres, which people are going to up and down the country, are not in that condition. We're at the front, and we're going to stay at the front. So again, Lady Mayor, well done for your part in it, and everybody else has been involved. There was one other item. No, I can't read it.
Might that be a written response, Councillor Taylor?
It will be. It'll have to be. Yeah. Whatever it is, I'll send it a written response.
No problem, Councillor. Thank you. In which case, that concludes that particular report. So we'll move on now to the people portfolio. I believe, Councillor Hobson, you're presenting this.
Yeah, thank you, Lady Mayor. Happy to present the People Report. Just by way of very quick introduction to the one item in that report that comes under my remit, that being the latest Ofsted visit. So we had Ofsted in doing one of their regular inspections last month. We got some very good feedback, verbal feedback at the end of that inspection. And I have seen sight of the draft report that we'll be getting in a few days. Happy to report lots and lots of positives in that, and it really does reflect on our improvement journey in children's services. So I'd just like to thank all of our children's services staff, basically, for doing an absolutely brilliant job. I'm particularly pleased, and I'm sure you'll all see this when the final report's out, our Ofsted comments around the embedding of our Blackpool Families Rock ethos and our progress in stabilising our workforce. But okay, if members want to crack on with the questions, then over to you, Lady Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hobson. Have we got any questions, please, on page 9? Page 10. Councillor Bradley Mitchell. Sorry, you're on mute. There we go.
The progress that is being made fighting the Omicron variant across the country is great. Case numbers are falling and continue to fall, largely thanks to the brilliant vaccine programme. Society is returning to normal, but despite attending a number of recent council meetings and scrutiny meetings, all socially distanced and safe, this full council meeting has become a hybrid version. As we ask residents to return to work and get on with life, we as elected representatives are hiding behind computer screens. It's an awful decision and makes very little sense when we will gather tomorrow for the voting section of full council anyway. I'd implore you to ensure future meetings are in person so that it can provide proper scrutiny.
Thank you, Councillor. Any others on page 10? Page 11. Councillor Tony Williams.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. Question really. I was quite shocked and saddened a couple of weeks ago when I heard about a young lady who was found on the train tracks at Leighton Station. It's a very sad affair. And I just looked at a few things and I found out that we are in the highest 8th percentile of juvenile suicides in the UK. And I'm a member of a program called Papyrus, which is trying to look at juvenile suicides. It is on the increase, and it's a very varied and a very distorted look at why this happens. Social media's got a lot to do with it. Peer challenge has got a lot to do with it. And I just would like to ask Councillor Hobson, do we have a specialist unit within our children's services looking at this? And I'd like to know more. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Have we got Councillor Paul Galley?
Thank you, Lady Mayor. It was just about the Metropole site on the bottom of page 11. It was just to thank all the residents of the town who have come forward so generously and kindly to support the asylum seekers. I think everyone's of one mind that the Metropole isn't the right location for anyone, especially asylum seeker with the different challenging needs they face. I guess the question from myself, Lady Mayor, for Councillor Hobson is, do we have any idea how long the Metropole will be used in this way? Because at a certain point, it's going to be crucial that we start to make sure that the kids there are going to get some kind of education and all the things that they'll need, because the longer they're there, they become de facto citizens, and therefore they deserve all the things that our citizens deserve. So it's really, what can we do as this issue starts to become more permanent?
You're on mute,
muted, Lady Mayor.
You're on mute.
Sorry, I'm doing it just as bad as everybody else now. Councillor Clapper.
Oh, thank you very much, Lady Mayor. Mine was on the Ofsted report for children's social care that Councillor Hobson referred to in the beginning. I'm looking forward to reading the Ofsted report when it's finally published, but it looks as though the signs are there that things are improving in terms of helping families and children, which to me is very, very good news. So please send me a report when it's complete. That's great. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. I've got Councillor Danny Scott.
Yeah, thank you, Lady Mayor. Just a continuation, really, of the Metropole situation. Councillor Gelly just asked about the rights of these citizens who are in the Metropole, having been there for a period of time. Can we have an update on actually how long they have stayed there, or do they stay there for a period of time and are replaced by other individuals coming into the Metropole? Is it a turnover? And can we also know the numbers of those actually in the Metropole? Thank you, Lady Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. I've got Councillor Walsh next.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. Kind of Danny Scott's said my questions up to now. Basically, how many asylum-seeking families have given permanent accommodation? And can you just confirm, is it a one out, one in basis, or are the numbers decreasing? Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Lynn Williams. You're all right, you're not on mute.
It was to answer these questions. Do you want me to come back in at the end, Lady Mayor, to be brought in by Councillor Hobson to answer the questions on the Metropole?
Yes, please. Yes, please. Unless you make it, unless you're making comment about what's in the report rather than answering, that's great.
No.
Hold on. Now, in this particular portfolio, this particular set of papers, you're not down as a councillor to feedback, are you? So you best do it now.
Okay, thank you. First, as a general position, we continue to work with Home Office at high levels, and also with Serco, who are obviously managing on the ground, to ensure that absolutely the best is done for those incredibly vulnerable people, families, because it is families that we're talking about here who are at the Metropole. Those discussions have, what the position that we had taken, that whilst we considered it to be completely, the wrong place, the wrong time for incredibly vulnerable people, given the stresses and the needs of our residents in terms of, particularly from a health perspective. So our continued involvement with Home Office has continued on that basis. They extended the contract. We continue to monitor how that property is used and to raise those concerns. I know that the Home Office were looking at, still are looking to stand up other hotels, but we have been informed that they will consider absolutely everywhere else other than Blackpool, because we have made it very clear, and I think quite frankly have been all over this and been I don't know, I suppose a complete nuisance over this, but to ensure that we absolutely supported our health colleagues. There have been issues in terms of supply of information, particularly around health issues, and we've worked with our health colleagues and with our other colleagues, so around the blue light services. We continue to have weekly meetings with the Home Office and Serco to raise those issues and those concerns and to understand. Part of that information, to Councillor Walsh's question, which was around numbers decreasing, is the part of the battle that we have had to get that information, which we haven't, well, Health have particularly wanted to have that information for very obvious reasons. And this has gone on for months to try and set up that sharing of information, which unfortunately we see signs of progress, and then it's 10 steps backwards. So it isn't for want of trying to get that information and to understand so that we can help and support. And in relation to children, there are a number of children already attending school, and is kind of, I suppose, it's indicative of what we knew would be the situation. The people of Blackpool would absolutely go out of their way to help and befriend and support people who have come to us in a very vulnerable and, traumatic lives and situation that they've come from. So I can't remember if there's any other particular questions that I haven't answered within that. But if there's any other information they require, then do contact me after this meeting. But please be assured that yes, we are continuing to monitor as much as we possibly can.
Thank you, Councillor. In which case we'll move on now to page 13. Page 14. Oh, sorry, go on, Councillor Tony Williams.
Yes, I'm sure it's page 13, although I can't really see it. I'll find out. It is. It's in regard to Respite for adults and learning disability. It was something that I think we probably all had an email from a lady who lives down South Shore, where she found it was very difficult to get a disabled child into Respite because it was blocked for a very special case. It's quite inconvenient to a certain extent when people have to make a sort of negotiations and arrangements to take kids to school, get to work themselves, etc., etc. And the fact that it was such short notice that she couldn't take a child to Respite, it caused them a lot of problems. And that was just one family. I just wondered, do we have a general problem with our Respite provision, or is it adequate, or do we need to do more about it? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Williams. I've got Councillor Rick Scott.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. Yeah, my question was on about the library service. It's great to see there's lots of things being offered at the library service, but have we got any figures on the uptake of these services that have been put out, not just for taking library books, but across the town and the various libraries?
Thank you, Councillor. Anybody else on page 13? Page 14. Councillor Clapham.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. Mine's on the Live Longer Better, the new active live service pilot. I see that it's based on the 2 surgeries at Moore Park, and it's for the over 55s to improve their physical and mental health. Do all the participants have to join this pilot through their GPs? Because my concern is there are probably dozens and dozens of lonely people out there in that age group who don't see the GP from 1 month or 1 year to the next. How widely advertised is the scheme? It sounds very good, but I haven't heard of it till I read the agenda, and there won't be many people in Bispham reading our agenda. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Clapham. Councillor Williams, is that a legacy hand? Lynn Williams, sorry.
Yes, it is, sorry.
No problem. Anybody else on page 14? Page 15? Page 16? General comments? Councillor Clapham?
Thank you very much, Lady Mayor. Mine was simply on the Blackpool Sixth Form College, who had the inspection back in December, which I've widely circulated to members of the council. Probably not all, but I did think it was worth everybody, if possible, seeing it. The fact that the final report recently published showed that they were graded outstanding in all 5 categories is really an outstanding result, because the Ofsted inspections that are carried out now include deep dives into areas of their choice, and it is a much more vigorous process than previous inspections by Ofsted. You get a phone call and 24 hours later they arrive. There is no data sent out prior to the inspection. I think that you'll find that most of the sixth form colleges in the country that were outstanding under the old regime will probably fall down in grades to good and below. So it is a magnificent result, and it is something for us all to celebrate here in Blackpool, because time and again, all we hear about Blackpool is how behind the curve we are against national figures and so on. But this is something really big that we should be all proud of. And thanks for the feedback that I've had from fellow councillors. They sound as if they're as happy as me about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Bidess.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. Just to comment on the children's improvement journey.
Oh, I think we might have lost Councillor Bidess. Just while we wait for it to hopefully reconnect, has anybody got any other
scrutiny receiving frequent reports?
Councillor Bidess, sorry, we lost you for the entirety of that. So if you could start again, that'd be really helpful.
Okay, can you hear me better now?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. It must be the headphones. Just to say on the children's improvement journey that scrutiny are receiving regular reports, and that we were given assurances that they are embedding all the points that have been made through the inspection, and we were more than satisfied with that. In fact, we go beyond that and just say that the work that is being done is outstanding, that they're being innovative and taking very seriously all the points that have been made, and we feel that they are making the progress that is necessary. Thank you, Lady Mayor.
Thank you. Any other general comments? Councillor Michelle Scott.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. I'd just like to say thank you to the Library Service for the work it's doing in acknowledging and recognising local talent. You know, we've got some very, very talented people in our town, and the Library Service is going above and beyond identifying and supporting that talent. So thank you from me on behalf of a resident in my ward. Thank you.
Thank you. Have we got any other general comments before we move on? Nope, marvellous. In which case we shall move on to the replies and responses. So Councillor Hobson.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. I'll go through these in no particular order, so I think I'll do Councillor Clapham's 2 points first. Yeah, Blackpool 6, Councillor Clapham, yeah, please do convey my congratulations to the board and to all the staff there. I did have a look through the report that you sent through. Absolutely incredible result. I think they should be rightfully proud of that. Really was brilliant. You also mentioned the incoming Ofsted report. I think that's due out the end of next week, Councillor Clapham, on the children's improvement journey. As soon as I've got it, I will promise you that you'll be the first person that I forward it on to. Councillor Williams, you raised a point on a constituent who raised an issue with regards to Respite. That lady had a meeting with our DCS yesterday. I understand that was quite a productive meeting. But as a general point, just as a bit of background for that, as I understand things, we changed the criteria for short breaks around a year or so ago to bring us more in line with other local authorities. I think it's fair to say it hasn't gone down well in some quarters, and we are looking at that again, basically. So it is something that we're on with, and we will be having a very close look at that again. To go back to your first issue on that very sad case of that young lady a couple of weeks ago, I'm sure I speak for all of the councillors on this call when we really, we wish you, thinking of her parents, it must be an absolutely awful ordeal to go through. So we're very sorry to hear about that. In terms of suicide prevention training, this is something that isn't just one team. It is rolled out across numerous teams in the council. But I know my colleague, that is supported by Public Health. So I think my colleague Jo Farrell wanted to come in on that. If I can just pass that one over to her.
Thanks, Councillor Hobson. Yeah, absolutely tragic news. There is a lot going on to support young people in the town. And we do have a suicide prevention group that's set up and is independently chaired by Mike Crowther of Empowerment. And that was a priority of the Mental Health Partnership Board. Papyrus, who you mentioned, Councillor Williams, are actually part of that board and work with us as well. But we also got funding from PHE, so we have a self-harm project, we have an outreach children and young persons mental health practitioner, and we also have a chat health texting service for school nurses. It is though Children's Mental Health Week, and there is a new service being launched and it's being run by staff at BTH, and it's the theme is growing together for this mental health week, and this new service is being launched to support our young people that are struggling with their mental health and their emotional well-being. New mental health support teams will be going into our secondary schools, our special needs schools, and our pupil referral units to help our young people. I'm sure there's lots more going on across town. It's a big focus, young people's mental health, but that's what I can remember at the moment. But thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Back to Councillor Hobson, I think.
I think that's my questions done, actually. Thank you, Lady Mayor.
Okay, so have we got anybody else that's going to be answering any of the rest of the questions in terms of the portfolios? Is that Councillor Benton offering to chip in?
Do you know, even after all these months, I still fail at technology. Right, here we go. Right, yeah, so it was Councillor Rick Scott, wasn't it? Thank you very much for your comments about this, the sessions at the libraries. Yeah, I can't give you exact figures on it, but I know that they're extremely well attended. At the moment, they're doing a booking system because of the COVID. We've still got a few COVID restrictions and we're dealing with some quite vulnerable little ones and that. But I'm sure, and I'm more or less certain those sessions, all the libraries are booked up, and you know, they're absolutely brilliant. You know, our libraries work extremely hard. Our staff are hardworking and dedicated. They've worked through COVID, they've worked through the pandemic, offering lots of online services. One of the most popular, they've been doing a ringing service to elderly clients and what have you. So, you know, long may they continue. We're extremely proud of our libraries, and so we should be. Councillor Clapham, yeah, it's a 6-month project, that, and I'm assuming you would be identified through your GP or through another healthcare professional. You know, we do have a lot of old and vulnerable residents that probably would go in a surgery with something, but it is identified as it just could be a little bit of loneliness and want somebody to talk to, and these services would be an offer. We do hope that we can roll out to different surgeries, but I think it'd be regarding funding through the CCG, so there is some potential to extend. Councillor Michelle Scott, thank you very much, Michelle. Yes, absolutely brilliant. And anybody, particularly if anybody knows Nathan Parker, Nathan is an absolute brilliant advocate of Blackpool, and if anybody ever gets a chance to listen to some of Nathan's stories and poems about Blackpool, I wholeheartedly say that you should go and see him. But yeah, thank you, Michelle. I totally agree with you. Thank you, Lady Mayor.
Thank you very much. In which case, has any other portfolio holders got any questions they want to answer or comments they want to make before I move on to the place portfolios? Nope, marvellous. In which case, Councillor Jane Hugo, I believe this is you presenting.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. Yes, I'm extremely pleased to present this jam-packed report tonight. It's full of good news for our town and the people who live here. A big thank you to all involved for their hard work in continuing to develop Blackpool as we look forward to a new museum, new sports pitches, new drainage, more land for commercial development, new sea defences and beach nourishment, new tram terminus and hotel, new homes and home improvements. All this giving us better opportunities, better homes, better roads, better transport and more jobs. Also, congratulations must go out to our housing officers and partners in achieving Council of the Year at the UK Housing Awards. Congratulations. I attended the BBLG pilot event and saw for myself how fabulous it is. And for once, I agree with our Prime Minister when he says the facility is stunning. So I'm happy to answer any questions, and I'm sure my colleagues will respond as well in relation to their portfolios. Thank you, Lady Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Hugo. Again, we'll take this page by page. So page 17, first of all, Councillor Tony Williams.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. Yes, the new conference centre. I haven't seen it for myself, but I believe it's very good. I just wish it was a bit bigger because the main conferences still have to be held in the Winter Gardens. But it's an addition and it's good. But I've heard from more than one source now, and I've discussed this with the Chief Exec, that it's actually £10 million over budget. Now, the fact that this has come from more than one source, I could normally take some of this stuff with a pinch of salt. But because we've had so many court cases rambling on in the background as well, I'd like to know what the final amount this conference centre has actually cost and what the true cost of developing and building it is. Thank you, Lady Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Williams. Any other questions on page 17? Okay, page 18. Councillor Bradley Mitchell.
There seems to be a false narrative currently circulating in the media that Blackpool has missed out on levelling up funds. Blackpool has, of course, received millions of pounds through various government funds since our new MP, Scott Benton, was elected, including one of the biggest town deals in the country and a further 8.6 million from the Get Building Fund. Will you set the record straight and confirm that Blackpool Council has a chance to learn from its previous failed bid and submit an improved bid in the second round?
Any other questions on page 18? Councillor Kath Benson.
Thank you, Lady Matt. Can I just, on page 18, I'm not quite sure if this should have come under my report, but it's under Councillor Hugo, and I do have to give Council an update now, and I'm not on the list of, it's regarding the lake at Stanley Park, Lady Mayor. So possibly since the report was published, the cordon has been lifted. That has been around the lake since November, but we're absolutely devastated to have lost so many beautiful swans, and in total there was 25 swans died and 2 Canada geese, which I'm sure we're absolutely all devastated and upset about. But I would like to thank everybody for their efforts to stop the virus continuing to spread, and I need to mention Brambles Wildlife Rescue for feeding the birds and assisting the teams and everybody who donated food. We need to thank our environmental and parks team, and especially Envico, who went above and beyond in the last few months. Also, let's not forget the members of the public who have respected that cordon. We will be continue to monitor the lake and the surrounding areas. Avian flu has been identified in some of the other areas, and with that in mind, we are encouraging members of the public not to feed the birds. That was just a little update on that. That's it, Lady Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Benson. I've got Councillor Danny Scott.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. I just lowered my hand again because Councillor Benson has just answered my question.
Marvellous.
About the
absolutely fine, Councillor. No problem at all. Any other questions on page 18? Page 19. Page 20. Page 21. Councillor Tony Williams.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. It's Blackpool Airport. Exciting developments ahead. It would seem that there's some sort of discord or contradictory evidence going on, because it says quite clearly this will help with commercial marketing activity to help secure new business, assess and identify viable routes, potential operators, and partner airfields. So are we going for commercial work? And I don't mean jets to Spain. I mean routes to connect to other areas. What happened to Ireland? What happened to Scotland? There's so much opportunity in this. We're blind if we don't look at it. Absolutely blind. And the other thing, of course, is that when you did the deal and lost £2 million per year, was it 3 million, as Councillor Owen said, that was a deal you sort of hibernated. It's not something that we probably would have done that way. But I think it's really strange that one half of you is saying that, oh, no commerciality. And here it is in the report that that's exactly what you're going for. Thank you, Mayor.
Councillor Michelle Scott.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. Sorry, I had a problem with the mic. It's nice to read about the outline business cases for the Little Bispam to Bispam and Gins Square to Cocker Square coast protection schemes. I'd like to raise the bit in between. So the section from Bispam to Gins Square, why is that not included? And if it, it obviously isn't included, will it be on the schedule for some future date, please? Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Danny Scott.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. Yes, we heard, I don't remember who it was now, Councillor Taylor, I believe it was, talking about being foolish to take on Blackpool Airport as it's a loss-making exercise. And then in the next sentence, he talks about the Sandcastle, which is a loss-making exercise, and how badly it was doing. Then he turned around and says they turned it all around to a successful enterprise. Did it just happen overnight that people started coming to the Sandcastle without any management changes? Is it a management problem? I cannot see any reason why Blackpool Airport cannot make a profit with the proper management team in place. Thank you, Lady Mayor.
Thank you very much. Councillor Tony Williams.
Same page, but I'm talking about improving sea defences. We still seem to have problems down at Anchor's Home. There's a difference of opinion between the residents and what our officers are actually saying in terms of breaches. But what is noticeable is that Balfour Beatty have now left the site completely. And there's obviously more remedial work needs doing. And I think it's about time we found out exactly what the situation is with Balfour Beatty, because nothing's happening. And the compound that they were using down at Little Bispam is empty now, and it could be used for something else. But we just don't seem to have seen them back on site. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other questions on page 21? Councillor David O'Hara.
It's just a comment on this airport thing. We've got a climate change emergency, and we're asking for bigger aircrafts to come in and out of Blackpool Airport. But apart from that, most of the airlines are struggling, and the number of flights are going to drop over the next few years. And I just wonder how they think it's lining up with climate change and with subsidising a few hundred people to fly to Tenerife and back. When whatever you do, they won't pay until take off and land.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Rick Scott.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. Just a clarification on from my point of view on the airport. We're not talking about we're talking about internal flights for the UK. We're the big resort, certainly in the UK, if not in Europe, and we haven't got an airport. We've conferences, so a lot of people fly to conference and things like that. Yeah, so that's what we're talking about. Have some ambition.
Thanks, Councillor. Any more on that particular page? Nope, no more on 21, 22. Councillor Badess.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. Just taking a while to unmute myself. I was sad to see that there's the evidence of pollution has affected the quality of the seawater in several places. I feel that we're drifting a long way from the blue flags that we've earned in the previous years. So I wonder what progress has been made in finding the cause of the pollution and whether we have a solution in place. Thank you, Lady Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. I've got Councillor Clapham next, and then Councillor Williams, Tony Williams.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. Mine was on the bathing water quality, and it's noted from both the Bispam councillors that our water is excellent. But the sad thing is that there is a sign displayed talking about the water being tested and it could be hazardous. I've sent a picture of it to the leader of the council, and Lynn assures me it will be looked into and removed. But on previous occasions, I've stated, if we've got excellent water after the testing procedure, why don't we put a sign up pointing out to our residents and visitors that the water is excellent in terms of quality? You know, we miss a trick every time, and that's an own goal. And I must thank Councillor Wilshaw for taking the pictures and pointing the sign out to me. He's reported it a number of times, and nobody has done anything about it. And it's months since we tested the water. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor. I've got Councillor Tony Williams next.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. I'm afraid I'm like an old record on this one. I'm talking about the construction of the multi-storey car park down at the central development. I've heard that the whole thing won't be ready for another 10 years. Yet the main attraction, which is going to be this flying machine, is already out of date. People who've had these fitted, including Universal, I think there was one at Holland Towers or somewhere like that, they're already dismantling them and replacing them with something new. So this thing in 10 years' time is going to be well past its sell-by date. Thank you.
You're muted, Lady Mayor.
That doesn't help because everybody in the room here can hear me without my mic on. So we've got any more on page 22? Page 23? Page 24? Councillor Galley?
Thank you, Lady Mayor. Normally I'm one for trying to keep full council to strategic matters, but on the subject of homelessness, we can't all have not noticed, as we go past the Metropole, there are a number of homeless individuals, poor souls, who are sleeping rough in a doorway and have been throughout the winter. How they've done it, I do not know. It's a huge worry to see anybody in that position. And I just wanted to ask if they have been approached, if there is a support route for them out of that. And obviously we all know the different barriers they face and the reasons and obstacles, etc. However, Lady Mayor, my concern is it's such a prominent location. These poor souls are in a terrible position themselves. Nobody's winning in this. So I just wondered if something's being done to help them.
Thank you very much. Councillor Rick Scott.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. My question was about the new housing developments, and in line with the council's climate change policy, are the sourcing of local materials being adhered to for the builds?
Thank you. No problem. Councillor Tony Williams.
Yes, Lady Mayor, thank you. Actually, my question was for page 23, but you can probably hear I've got a sore throat.
Well, we'll let you off.
Well, yeah, thank you very much indeed. It was about the consultation on Stanley Park Golf Course, the proposal for the 150 lodges there. I think you find out that UCAP, or whatever they call themselves today, they admitted, most of the visitors expressed that they opposed the scheme. And the drawings produced gave a false impression, as they didn't include a single lodge. It just showed an open space in a building. But apart from that, can the leader confirm that the members of the golf club itself will be given a new lease? And again, I apologise for my throat. I'm losing my voice, which everyone will be pleased to hear as we go on. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Any more on page 24? Page 25? Councillor Maxine Callow?
Yes, thank you, Lady Mayor. I refer to potholes and the highways. At the recent tourism scrutiny meeting, which took place last week, we had an absolutely excellent presentation from Will Britton. It was absolutely wonderful. And at the end of the presentation, he did get a round of applause. It was so well done. There was some humour in it. They weren't talking at you. Everybody was hanging on to every word that Will Britton said. And I know that the leader was there as well, Lynn, and we all appreciated it very much. And I just wondered if, when we've got time, if we could arrange for all the members to hear this presentation, because we all get complaints, all of us, about the highways, about potholes or about pavements. And I think that if councillors had the opportunity of listening to Will Britton with his presentation, then they would have, hopefully, the right answers for our residents. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Galley.
Brilliant. Thank you, Lady Mayor. Councillor Mrs. Callow has set me up perfectly for what I wanted to say, so thank you, Maxine. I wanted to put on record, based on that scrutiny meeting, our thanks to Will Britton. He's somebody that tries to keep out of the limelight, but his work in developing our RAM system is way ahead of the game. And I had to write this down because I could never remember this, but he's also the president of the local council roads innovation group. And he's done so much at a national level to make Blackpool the area of best practice. And he openly admits, and this is the best thing about Will, that there's still more to do, and he's very open about that. And so it was really that to echo everything Councillor Mrs. Callow has just said, but also if we could put on our thanks to Will, everything that he does for us and everything that he will do for us in the future.
Thank you very much. Have we got any other questions on page 25 or any general questions, comments? Nope, in which case I will hand back over to Councillor Hugo and colleagues for responses.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. So I'm going to go back to the beginning page by page, but if my colleagues can take note of when I might need their help, which is a significant number of questions, I think. So the first one was on page 17 from Tony Williams, which I'm hoping Mark might be able to help with shortly, about the new conference centre. Page 18, oh, I've not written his surname down, Councillor Bradley, and his surname escapes me. Sorry about that. Mitchell, thank you, Councillor Mitchell, sorry about that. Yes, he wants some reassurance from Lynn around the levelling up issue. Thank you, Councillor Benson, for updating us on Stanley Park. That's really good news, and thank you to all involved in getting that back together. Page 19 and 20 were question free. Page 21. Oh yes, quite a lot of discussion around the airport. I'm not sure which colleague will pick up the questions, but there were several from Councillor Tony Williams, Councillor Scott, which was specifically around the Sandcastle doing a turnaround, so why can't the airport? I'm guessing Councillor Taylor might pick up on that shortly. Councillor Scott wanted to clarify, why have we no ambition for internal flights? I'd just like to comment on that, really. And with the climate emergency in mind, our ambition is to use public transport of a much more carbon zero nature. So improving the systems to get people in by rail would be a preferred option from the climate emergency point of view, and electric vehicles. Which leads into Councillor O'Hara's comment about needing to be mindful of the climate emergency when we think about the airport. So I think that was it on the airport. And then on that page further down, we're talking about the sea defences. And Councillor Williams highlights that there are breaches at Anchor's home and the absence of Balfour Beatty. So this is within my portfolio, and I'm glad to be able to tell you, Councillor Williams, that Balfour Beatty might be out of sight, but they're certainly not out of mind. The contract still lies with them, and we are holding the line and pursuing that any repairs that need to be done to that are done with Balfour Beatty. Okay, so moving on to page 22. So, Councillor Burdes, you ask about the pollution. Actually, these are good results, and I think Councillor Clapham picked up on that. The Environment Agency have rated 99% of the UK's beaches as adequate or above, sufficient or above, I should say. So Blackpool North is the one we have that's sufficient. The other two are good and excellent, as outlined in the report. And to me, that's a bit of a conundrum, because Blackpool North has beaches either side of it that are excellent. So how can that be? We have an off-the-record kind of theory that maybe it's something to do with the starlings. Who knows? But we've asked the Environment Agency to do some DNA testing so we can get to the source of what is this pollution that's going on in Blackpool North. And it's on their list now to look into. So we should have more news on that to follow. Councillor Clapham, your photograph landed on my virtual desk today, and I followed that up with the officers, and I'm assured that that sign will be removed. Absolutely, we don't want to be telling people that the waters are polluted when they're not. I shall make it a point to ask Councillor Wilshaw exactly where that sign is and go along myself, maybe on my electric bicycle one day along the promenade. And check it's gone. And definitely, yeah, any positive PR that we can do to promote the excellent waters at Bisping can only be a good thing. Following on with other questions, we have Councillor Tony Williams asking about the multi-storey car park and the ride. I'm hoping Mark Smith might be able to pick up on that. Page 23, Councillor Tony Williams asked for some comment from Councillor Lynn Williams about Stanley Park Golf Course. Page 24, Councillor Galley was asking about the homelessness and rough sleepers. I think we've got apologies from Councillor Campbell tonight because she's had to work. Whether Ivan can pick up on that. If not, I have a bit of intelligence around that I could maybe help with. And Councillor Rick Scott. Oh yes, about sourcing local materials for the new housing. So I'm aware that it's part of the procurement now. You get extra points when it goes out to tender for people that are able to evidence that they're sourcing things in a sustainable way, amongst other things. The exact detail for those projects, I'm not sure, but I do know it's something that's weighted quite heavily in the procurement exercise, but I can find out more detail for you there, Councillor Scott. Rick Scott, that was. Page 25, yes, so for my little bit now anyway, to end on some good news, and thank you very much for all the praise for Will Britton, and I'm sure that will be put on record, and I would really like to see that presentation. So I'll hand over now to my colleagues to pick up on those other questions. Perhaps we could go to Councillor Lynn Williams first, if that's okay.
Yeah. We'll go to Councillor Lynn Williams first. If the other guys, if you can make sure you've got all your questions ready to hand, and we'll go through them by person rather than page by page in terms of response. So I'll take Councillor Lynn Williams.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. Yeah, and I would just like to echo everyone's comments about the presentation that we had from Will Britton. It was really great, and yes, I agree, it should be rolled out, Councillor Callow. Also at that meeting we had another really good presentation from I forgot Nick's surname then, from Nick Gerard with regards to the regeneration. And he was asked this particular question that Councillor Williams had asked in relation to the ride, the operation being out of date. And so I think we need to get not only Will's presentation, but Nick's presentation rolled out to all officers, because Councillor Williams does not need to be concerned that it will be out of date. Nick was able to confirm to that meeting that he's actually seen one similar. Ours is going to be bigger, better, and will be absolutely mega and amazing. So I can allay those concerns around that. In relation to the conference centre, it isn't over budget. We've made, we've accepted that, we've acknowledged that we've had disputes with the contractor, but we're confident about our position in terms of those disputes. As regards the size of the conference centre, I think, because of the years that we've had, I think we're working on the numbers are on the sort of on the low side in terms of the main general area. But obviously, coming out of COVID, the conference centre, because it is state of the art, a lot of conference centres will not be able to cope with the demand for hybrid meetings. And our conference centre will, absolutely ready to go. And I think will be a major plus point for the centre. So what was my next question? Oh, the Councillor Mitchell, Bradley Mitchell. Yes, the Levelling Up funding. We had feedback on the Levelling Up fund, and actually both MPs were involved in on that feedback session, and I think they were just as perplexed as we were in terms of the feedback that was given from the civil servants and their explanation, who I don't really think had any particular knowledge of the actual bids. But I would like to make the point, really, I think, because the point is being missed, is that Levelling Up should not just be about one-off capital grants. It's about investment in people and communities. And the only way that that's going to be achieved is by a fully funded public services. So, I am particularly, proud, as Councillor Hugo started mentioning her opening with regards to the housing award, because we know in terms of creating those opportunities for people, the way encouraging people out of poverty and true levelling up of our people and communities, we look at creating those opportunities and creating a skilled workforce to meet that, and then housing, and both of which are at the absolute forefront of this council. So it was, around that particular sort of the issue that more needs to be considered when we talk about levelling up, that not just a one-off capital grants, and we need to look at really ensuring that we have a absolutely fair system that funds, because we will not achieve levelling up if we do not have properly funded public services. What were my other questions then? Sorry, I've lost my place. Stanley Park, Councillor Williams, I've not had the feedback. I'm not aware of that. In terms of false impression, I think there's a false impression being created by some of the leaflets that have gone out from the Conservative group. I don't know who has put them out, but stating that developing in Stanley Park, which obviously is patently untrue and very misleading. As I understand the position, it will obviously when the development goes ahead. The golf members, they will be able to operate until the development, and then we're looking at the 9-hole golf course. I'm not sure what you mean by kind of a new lease, but I can find out if get some more information in that regard as to what that position will be. Did I have? I think Councillor Hugo was going to come back and deal with the issue around homelessness, but if I could just add on that point, is I do know I had raised this issue because Councillor Galley, I had spotted these same individuals and was reassured that, as would be anticipated, that officers were working, all the support services were out there absolutely doing all they can to support and assist these people in moving on. They were known and I'm not sure if, but we can get something more in writing to you if there isn't any update in that regard. I think that's my questions. I think Councillor Taylor can deal with the airport. If
Yep, that's
if there's
absolutely
anything
fine.
else, I'll come back, Lady Mayor. I'll wave again if I find any other questions.
Well, I'm hoping that, you know, you all might be able to go for your tea and your cup of tea shortly. So hopefully everything will be answered. So I'll bring in Councillor Smith first, then Councillor Taylor, and if Councillor Brooks has anything to add, I'll do it that way. Councillor Mark Smith.
Thank you, Lady Mayor, and hopefully we can get our tea soon. I believe Councillor Williams answers both the questions I was going to report back on, which has saved short of my speech. But can I just, as I've got the presence of the room here, I just want to mention this week is Enterprise Week, and we've got a number of events being held between Monday and Friday this week in the Durham Lounge, in the Winter Gardens, supporting local businesses in helping them succeed and grow for the future. Unfortunately, I usually attend on the events every week, but due to COVID restrictions and having to isolate, I'm unable to attend the beginning half of the week. I'm hoping to attend towards the latter end when I come out of isolation. And also, I'd like to sort of we're talking about the airport. We're talking about ambition, and we're there to the airport. I mean, different people have different views, but it's a commercial area which we allow local jets, private jets, local airplanes land. And I would say it's also quite beneficial this week because, I mean, Boris Johnson brought his jet to come to Blackpool when he probably should have used public transport, which would be more greener than flying. So people did benefit from the airport, including the Prime Minister. Thank you, Lady Mayor. You're frozen. Did I freeze at all?
Members, the Lady Mayor is just having problems with her computer screen. If you just bear with us a few moments.
Keep talking, Mark.
I think I should, didn't I? But I should have a bit more Enterprise Week, you know. Also, I'd like to sort of say that I also attended the first event, the pilot event at the Winter Gardens with yourself, Councillor Galley, and the leader Lewis, and also Councillor Hugo on the BBLG, Blackpool Business Leaders Group. And seeing 150 people in the room the first time was fantastic. And that's just the start of many big events in the future. That's just the smaller of the rooms. We have a larger capacity room on the upper floor as well. So it's good to see how smoothly operation it was and how the ambience of the room felt fantastic, and the presentation from all the speakers who spoke at the Winter Gardens Conference Centre on the sort of debut day, including yourself, Councillor William Galley. Sorry. So is we got anybody else back online at the moment?
I'm on mute. There we go. I'm back. Sorry about that, folks.
I tried to entertain while you're gone. Okay.
Thank you very much, Councillor Smith. Much appreciated. For some reason, my computer decided to close all of you down, and I couldn't see any of your lovely faces. So obviously, that makes it very difficult to chair. So hopefully, we should be all back up and running now. Councillor Taylor, can I ask you to respond to any questions that?
Yeah, I'm not saying I will be happy to do so because, but I will, because it seems to me that the Tory party, which tries to give an impression of interest in commerciality, shall we say, and good business, are turning their eyes on this occasion to the obvious, or what ought to be obvious. Now, as you know, the Blackpool Airport has a long history, and in particular in the war and the period afterwards, owned by the MOD, who handed it over to Blackpool, and nothing very much happened there. There was some flights to the Isle of Man and all the rest of it. And then one council leader decided that we ought to expand and go into commercial flights and all the rest of it, and set off to do that. And built, or rather led the council to build a brand new terminal, so that all the folks who were going to go in there and the people who were going to come to Blackpool would use it. That gentleman was myself in my period as council leader. But I soon found out, as other people did as well, that it didn't work. sadly. And it was costing us a lot of money, which we were not in a position to spend. So what did we do? We managed, and it was a great day when we did. We flogged it off. And we got a private company, took it over, who believed that they were very commercially sensitive and clever, and they were going to make a lot of money out of it. But after a while, they decided they couldn't, so they flogged it to another company, who flogged it to another company, eventually, Respite. And none of them could make it work, and they were all losing money. And Respite settled the argument in a certain sense by knocking my wonderful terminal down. God, how much evidence do you need to tell you that that airport will not work commercially? Now, if people fancy that the ratepayers, the taxpayers in Blackpool, should be putting loads of money into an airport so that some of our fellow citizens can go on these trips to Tenerife and wherever, and that's a good way of spending the council's money rather than on children's services or whatever, they're entitled to their own view. But it's not my view, and I don't think it's the view of the vast majority of people in Blackpool. If we can make that commercially work, that would be wonderful. But my goodness, how much evidence do you want to suggest that that is not possible? And I, for one, having learnt that lesson the hard way, I'm not about to make it again or to support anybody else who's got this silly idea of doing it again. So there's no politics worth it in this. You're not going to get, you think you're going to get a lot of votes up to the Tory party, you're not. Because the people of Blackpool have got other things on their mind than subsidising trips abroad for a relatively few people. Sorry about that. So anyway, you carry on campaigning on it and we'll be happy to oppose it because we'll see who comes out best on it.
And I believe Councillor Hugo, you just wanted to give a quick update because Councillor Campbell's not here on just a question around homelessness. That'd be really helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. I'm afraid I haven't really anything to add other than what Councillor Lynn Williams said, but we have been assured that the officers are meeting with all individual rough sleepers across the town, and every endeavour is being made to offer the relevant support to each and every one of those people. We could get some specific information on those near the Metropole if Councillor Galley would like that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, folks. In which case, I believe...
Excuse me, Lady Mayor, I'm so sorry to interrupt you. My question wasn't addressed.
And unfortunately, Councillor, if people choose not to address them, they can either respond to you in writing, but they do not have to answer questions. That is all I can say to you.
Okay, thanks, Lady Mayor.
All right, thank you. So if there are any other questions or anything else that you would like Cabinet members to respond to, obviously they will be responded to in writing where they see fit. I think that will close the business for this evening. I shall see all your lovely faces tomorrow in the council chamber for the decision-making part of full council. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and I shall see you all tomorrow, hopefully.
Thank you. Bye.